I want you to picture something for a second. You're standing in the doorway of your own house, the house you've paid the mortgage on for 9 years, and you're watching your wife introduce another man to your children as their real dad. And she hasn't seen you yet. So for about 4 full seconds, you get to watch your kids' faces light up with a kind of joy that you realize in that moment was never really about you. That was a Tuesday afternoon in October. My name is Nathan. I'm 41 years old. I'm a civil engineer, and up until that Tuesday, I genuinely believed I had a decent life. Not a perfect one, decent. I traveled for work more than I liked. I missed school plays. I came home tired, but I was present. I was faithful. I was the guy who coached Saturday soccer even when I had a report due Monday morning. I thought that counted for something. My wife, Priya, and I had been together for 12 years, married for 9. 2 kids, Mia, who's 8, and Jordan, who's 6. We met in graduate school. She was the kind of woman who made every room feel brighter just by being organized. And I say that with sincerity because I'm not a naturally organized person. I needed that. I loved her for it, even when it sometimes felt like she was managing me more than loving me. Looking back, there were signs I was too comfortable to read properly. The phone face down on the counter, the girls' nights that started happening every other week, the way she'd laugh at something on her screen and then tilt it away before I could glance over. I noticed. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself that's what 12 years looks like. 2 people who have their own spaces, their own rhythms, their own private jokes. I told myself a lot of things. The work trip was supposed to be 4 days, a site inspection in another state, 2 client meetings, a dinner I didn't want to attend. On the 3rd morning, the 2nd client canceled. The inspection wrapped early, and I booked a flight home that night instead of the following afternoon. I didn't call ahead. I thought about it, actually picked up my phone to text Priya, then thought, nah, I'll just surprise them, maybe order pizza, maybe actually be the fun dad for once. I pulled into the driveway at around 4:15 p.m. Both cars were there, which meant Priya hadn't gone to pick up the kids from school. She'd brought them home early. There was also a 3rd car, a dark blue SUV I didn't recognize. I assumed it was one of her friends from the neighborhood. I walked in through the side door, set my bag down quietly, and heard voices coming from the living room. Mia was laughing. Jordan was asking someone something, and then I heard Priya's voice, low and warm in a way she hadn't spoken to me in probably 2 years. Kids, come here. I want you to meet someone very important. I walked to the hallway, stopped at the edge of the living room doorway. There was a man sitting on my couch, broad-shouldered, maybe 35. He had one of those easy smiles that tells you he's used to being liked. Mia was sitting next to him like she already knew him. Jordan was handing him one of his toy cars, which Jordan never does with strangers. Priya was crouched down to the kid's level, and she was saying, "This is someone who loves you both very much. His name is Ryan, and this summer we're all going to spend some time together. We're going on vacation." She paused, and then she said it. "Kids, Ryan is your real dad." Mia's face did something complicated. Jordan frowned. Neither of them fully understood, but the man, Ryan, he was nodding and smiling, and my daughter was looking at him with this cautious, curious expression that broke something in me quietly and permanently. And then Mia looked up toward the doorway. Her smile didn't just freeze, it collapsed. Ryan turned, Priya turned, and the 4 seconds of chaos that followed were completely silent. Nobody screamed, nobody moved. Jordan looked between us all, confused, still holding out his toy car. I said very calmly, "Jordan, go to your room, buddy. Take your sister." Priya stood up slowly. Her face had gone a specific shade of pale that I'd never seen on her before. Ryan stood too, which I thought was interesting. He stood like a man who still thought this situation might be manageable. I looked at him, then at her, and I said, "You need to leave my house." That was for him. Then I looked at Priya and said, "And we need to talk." He left, she stayed, and what happened in that conversation is something I'll carry for the rest of my life, not because of what she said, but because of how little of it surprised me once she started talking. It had been going on for 2 years. Ryan was someone she'd reconnected with from her past. He was, in fact, Mia's biological father, something she'd hidden from me since before Mia was born. Let me say that again. Mia was 8 years old. I had raised her for 8 years. I had coached her soccer team. I had sat with her through ear infections at 2 in the morning. I had taught her to ride a bike in the driveway of that house. And Priya had known from the day Mia was born that I might not be her biological father, and had said nothing, not once, for 8 years. The quiet that came over me in that moment wasn't peace. It was something colder. I asked Priya to leave for the night. She did. I ordered pizza for the kids. I helped them with homework. I put them to bed. I kissed Mia on the forehead and felt something that I don't have a clean word for. Love and grief so intertwined that separating them felt pointless. She was still my daughter. That didn't change. Biology doesn't build the kind of relationship we had. But here's what Priya hadn't considered in all her careful planning of that Tuesday afternoon reveal. I was a co-owner of the house. I was also the primary account holder on every joint financial account we had. I had been quietly, professionally meticulous about finances our entire marriage. Not out of distrust, just out of habit. Everything was documented, every account, every asset, every investment. And 2 months before that Tuesday, I had restructured my retirement account and updated beneficiary information for unrelated reasons. Priya's name had been on a discretionary transfer account tied to my employer benefits package. That account, which she had apparently been using to quietly funnel money toward a future she was building without me, was one I had direct sole authority over. I contacted my attorney that Wednesday morning. By Thursday, I had filed for divorce on grounds of fraud, specifically the intentional misrepresentation of paternity. By the following Monday, the discretionary account had been closed and the funds redirected appropriately. The joint savings account was frozen pending legal proceedings. Priya's access to the vacation property we owned jointly in the Carolinas, a property she had apparently already shown Ryan, was suspended. I didn't call her family. I didn't post anything online. I didn't send any messages to friends or mutual acquaintances. I simply let the legal machinery do what it does when someone has been building a secret life on top of a real one. The text started within days, first from Priya, then from her mother, who had apparently known about Ryan for at least a year and had said nothing to me at a dozen family dinners. Then from a couple of people I'd considered friends who were suddenly very interested in hearing my side, which meant they'd already heard hers. I didn't respond to most of it. The DNA test confirmed what Priya had told me about Mia. I had suspected in some quiet corner of myself that it might. That confirmation didn't change what I did next. I pursued full co-parenting rights as her legal father, which my attorney confirmed was well within my rights given our marriage and the years of established paternity. Ryan's sudden appearance in Mia's life, presented to her the way it was something the family court took note of. Priya lost the vacation property in the settlement. She lost primary financial stability. Ryan, as it turned out, was not particularly interested in fatherhood when it came with legal and financial complexity. He had, by the time proceedings concluded, largely stepped back from the picture he'd so warmly inserted himself into on that Tuesday afternoon. I moved into a clean, quiet apartment. I took Mia and Jordan every weekend and 2 evenings a week. I coached the last 4 games of Jordan's soccer season. I took Mia to her first middle school orientation. I did not yell. I did not beg. I did not try to make Priya understand what she had done, because a person who can sit across a dinner table from you for 8 years while knowing what she knew doesn't need you to explain consequences to them. They understand consequences perfectly. They just assumed they'd be yours. The last thing I said to Priya before our attorneys took over all communication was this: I never made you feel small. Remember that clearly. I meant it as a statement of fact, not a threat. The quiet ones, we tend to keep the most careful records. I didn't destroy her. I simply stopped being the foundation she'd built everything on top of. She felt the difference soon enough.